Warning, applying these principles may change your life. People will look at you differently. You'll walk straighter, live bolder, and find out who you are. This is the Manlihood Mancast. Here's your host, Josh Hatcher.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Manlihood Mancast. I'm your host, Josh Hatcher, and this is our Manly Chunks of Wisdom episode, which we're going to do these once a month, where we're going to take a look at some quotes. And if you know me, you know that I'm a quote guy. I love it when we can boil down somebody's thoughts into just a sentence or two. And I know, that's a chunk out of oftentimes a much larger piece of material, but I think there's some really good stuff that we can learn when we look at it this way. So once a month, we're going to look at a handful of quotes from either an author or about a specific topic. And today, we are talking about perseverance. So we've got some great chunks of manly wisdom for you. So why don't we get right into it after this? Listen, if you want to be all of the man that you're meant to be, if you want to be there as a husband, as a father, as a friend, as a better leader, you're not going to do that if you're alone in the world. Somebody out there created this crazy idea that a man is an island and that he doesn't ever need to share his feelings or he doesn't ever need to be held accountable. And we're about changing that. So what we are building right now, and this is still getting started, is the Arrows and Iron Brotherhood, where you can level up as a man. And I want to see you do that. I want to see you set some goals for your life and then break those goals down and start working towards them. I want to see you take the time to invest in yourself so that you can become who you were meant to be. That's what your wife needs. That's what your kids need. That's what you need. That's what the world needs, is better men who are able to walk in the confidence of who they are and who they were meant to be and what their calling is, what their purpose is. That's what we're doing at the Arrows and Iron Brotherhood, and that's the context with which it's meant to be, a brotherhood. So if you want to be a part of this, if you want to learn more about it, go to manlihood.com/brotherhood, and if you sign up, we'll get you some more info. All right, let's jump right into these manly chunks of wisdom today. Our first quote is from George Edward Woodbury, who's an American poet. He said, "Defeat is not the worst of failures. Not to have tried is the true failure." Yeah, when we're talking about perseverance, we have to understand that sometimes you're going to fall and you're going to fail. And if you let that be the end, that is not perseverance. That's not moving forward. There's an old Japanese proverb that says, "Fall 7 times and stand up 8. And Albert Einstein, we all know him. He's the founder of the theory of relativity and all kinds of wonderful, amazing thoughts that only a man like Einstein could think. He says, "It's not that I'm so smart, it's just that I stay with problems longer." And that's the truth. That's the reason why he was successful. That's the reason why he solved problems, because he didn't quit. He was persevering through the hard times. B.F. Skinner, who's an American psychologist, by the way, he's not my favorite person. But as usual, when it comes to quotes, we can learn from anybody, whether we agree with them and their methods or not. So Skinner says, "A failure is not always a mistake. It may simply be the best one can do under the circumstances. The real mistake is to stop trying." Newt Gingrich, American politician, said, "Perseverance is the hard work you do after you get tired of doing the hard work you already did." Dr. Steve Maraboli says, "As I look back on my life, I realize that every time I thought I was being rejected from something good, I was actually being redirected to something better." You know, I think about that a lot. A lot of times when something goes wrong, that's when we quit. That's when we give up. That's when we stop pursuing anything. And a lot of times when something goes wrong, that's really helping you to refine the direction you're supposed to be heading. Robert Collier says, "Success is the sum of small efforts, repeated day in and day out." And how true is that? If you've read James Clear's Atomic Habits, he talks about the fact that those small things that we do daily are what adds up to the success in the long term. Julie Andrews, you may know her as Mary Poppins, said, perseverance is failing 19 times and succeeding the 20th. British politician and writer Benjamin Disraeli says, through perseverance, many people win success out of what seemed destined to be a certain failure. American author William Feather says, success seems to be largely a matter of hanging on after others have let go. And world-renowned author and speaker Dale Carnegie says that to develop success from failures, discouragement and failure are two of the surest stepping stones to success. And, that's the thing, guys. You're going to see this all the way through these quotes today, is that perseverance is not about winning as much as it is about pushing through. Because to win, you're going to fail. You're going to lose. And a lot of times when you win, it's after you've lost so many times to figure out all the ways that didn't work again. And I think that's got to be part of it. Now, if you keep doing it wrong and you don't make adjustments, are you really moving forward? When you fail, it's because it wasn't right and you need to change it. So don't keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity. To do this right, you try it, you do it, you develop it, you recognize, okay, this failed because I wasn't strong in this area. This failed because I made this mistake. This failed because X, Y, Z. I need to adjust it, and then I can move forward. That's how you get success, by learning from the mistakes that you've made. Lee Mitchell Hodges says, failure is often that early morning hour of darkness which precedes the dawning of the day of success. And Hannibal, and we're going to feature Hannibal, the Carthaginian general from the right around the BC era. He was I think 182 BC is when he died. We're going to do a testicular fortitude episode on him later in the season. But Hannibal says, we will either find a way or make one. That's the very definition of perseverance. When you don't quit just because it doesn't look like there's a way to make it happen, just because it looks impossible. Nelson Mandela, who was a South African anti-apartheid leader, and he spent a lot of his life in prison. His name is probably well known because of the Mandela effect, that's an interesting phenomenon where you remember something happening differently than it actually happened, and people are starting to wonder, okay, was there something else that causes this? I think part of that is people remember Mandela dying in prison, but he didn't die in prison. And so that's where the Mandela effect comes from. But he says this, which is more relevant to what we're talking about. He says, it always seems impossible until it's done. Robert Frost, he's the poet that wrote Two Roads Diverged in a Yellow Wood. He says this, the best way out is always through. And this man was a member of the House of Representatives, George Moore Jr. He says, a winner is just a loser who tried one more time. And Thomas Edison, we know him. He invented the light bulb, like the ones we can see behind me now, if you're watching. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. Every time I read that quote, I think of the little picture that you may have seen on Facebook of the guy trying to mine for diamonds, and he's digging under the earth, and you see the one guy keeps pushing, and he's just about to break through to the diamonds, and the other guy has given up and is turning around and walking because he's giving up. It didn't work when he was almost there. Henry Ford, who invented the Ford Motor Company and the automobile, says failure is only the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. Harriet Beecher Stowe, who's an American abolitionist who fought against slavery, she's also an author. She says, when you get into a tight place and everything goes against you, never give up then, for that is just the place and time that the tide will turn. I don't know what you're facing today, gentlemen. I don't know what you're going through, but I have this hope that what you're facing is almost over. that you're almost to some of that victory. Now, I don't think we're ever done improving, and I don't think we're ever done learning and done growing. You never arrive at your destination. I know I sure haven't. I've always got stuff I need to learn and grow and move forward in my life from, but I do think that there is some success for you just ahead. I think that the thing that you're hoping for, that you're striving for, is just ahead, and you're almost there. So don't give up. Keep pushing. Confucius was a great Chinese philosopher. He says the man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. And I share that about perseverance because it's the small things repeated over time. That's how you get there. Confucius also said, it does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop. And F. Scott Fitzgerald, who's the author of The Great Gatsby, said, never confuse a single defeat with a final defeat. Abraham Lincoln, we know this guy, he says, I'm a slow walker, but I never walk back. Now, that could have a few meanings when I think of the idea that to walk something back as a politician means to take back your comments or to soften the blow that they had. I don't think that's what he's talking about, but it does seem kind of relevant where he basically says, I'm not going to change what I said. I said what I said. But I think what he is talking about is he moves forward in his life. He progresses slowly, but he doesn't go backward. I think that's what Lincoln meant by that quote. Babe Ruth, we know him, a baseball legend who used to call his shots. He'd point out to the outfield and up into the stands and say, that's where I'm going to hit this ball. He said, every strike brings me closer to the next home run. Teddy Roosevelt was the 26th president of the U.S., and he said, courage is not having the strength to go on. It is going on when you don't have the strength. When you don't think you can do it anymore, you've got to stick to it. You've got to keep pressing in. You've got to keep trying, because that's how you get through the other side. James Michner says, character consists of what you do on the third and fourth tries. Scottish politician Walter Elliot says, perseverance is not a long race. It is many short races, one after the other. Louis Pasteur says, let me tell you the secret that has led to my goal. My strength lies solely in my tenacity. You know, he invented the pasteurization process. He was a scientist. I mean, this guy is a founder of a lot of what we know today when it comes to science. He got that way by tenacity, by perseverance. The things he did because he made it happen and he didn't quit. Winston Churchill says, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. So when you get to success, or what you perceive as success, that's also not the end goal. That's the first goal. Because we need to keep succeeding, we need to keep growing, we need to keep achieving. And also, when we screw up, it's not the end. It's keeping moving forward, that persistence that matters. Winston Churchill also says, and this seems also relevant, if you're going through hell, keep going. Because when it gets hard, you don't want to stay there. When it's really hard and it sucks, don't stay there. Keep pushing forward. Keep moving. Now, if you're a Winnie the Pooh fan, the author of that book, A.A. Milne, wrote in Winnie the Pooh, rivers know this, there's no hurry. We shall get there someday. Randy Pausch, author of The Last Lecture, says, the brick walls are there for a reason. The brick walls are not there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something. Because the brick walls are there to stop the people who don't want it badly enough. They're there to stop the other people. You know, when you face those obstacles and you're moving forward and you're struggling to make it happen and you have that thing that's just holding you back, that's there not to stop you. That's there to prove that you wanted it hard enough to push through. Harper Lee wrote in To Kill a Mockingbird, real courage is when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway and you see it through no matter what. That's courage. Martin Luther says, even if I knew that tomorrow the world would go to pieces, I would still plant my apple tree. I think there's some persistence involved in that, because even though you don't know what's to come, you don't know what's going to happen to you. You know what you're supposed to do today anyway, and you do it. Even if you don't think it matters, it does. And our final quote today, we'll go back to Winston Churchill, who said this: never give in, never give in, never, 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 never in nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force, never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy. I mean, Churchill would know, right? I mean, he went up against Hitler and fought to keep Europe free from Nazism. Nazism? You know what I'm talking about. The Third Reich. And he said, we're not going to quit. We're going to persevere. And if you're going to quit, only quit to convictions of honor and good sense. So if you're like, look, I should stop this because it's just not the right thing. This isn't honorable to continue this, or this is not smart to keep doing it this way or to keep doing this thing. That's when you're allowed to quit, when it's something you should quit. And if you don't know whether it's something you should quit, you need to make sure you've got men in your life who can tell you, look, doing that thing the way you're doing it is not getting you where you want to be. Because you can persevere in the wrong things too. What you don't want to do, though, is you don't want to give up on the right things. Most of the time, you know what those right things are, and you don't need anybody to tell you because they're right. But if you don't have good guys, good people in your life who can call you forward, who can call you on your BS, who can say, dude, that's not the way to go here. If you don't have that, you're going to continue to go whatever direction you think best. And that's lacking. That is a struggle. So make sure you've got good guys in your corner. Listen, if you liked our Manly Chunks of Wisdom, we've got just the thing for you. We've got a free ebook on our website at manlihood.com/chunks. And if you go there, you can download this free ebook with a bunch of great quotes to help you grow as a man. Listen, don't forget our free Facebook group called the Manlihood Man Cave. You go there, you sign up, you can connect with us men, and it's a great place to stay in tune with what we're doing here at Manlihood, but also just to ask questions, to grow, to encourage each other, to have some fun, and to make some friends. And then if you want to go deeper and become the man you were always meant to be, that's what can happen in the Arrows and Iron Brotherhood. So that's going to be at manlihood.com/brotherhood. Listen, thank you guys for listening today. Thanks for tuning in. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment. If you're listening to it on a podcast app, leave a rating and a review so we can tell other people about what's happening here at Manlihood. And if this episode is something that you got a lot out of, share it with a friend. I love you. I care about you. And I'll see you next time.
If you want to be a better man, check out our website, manlihood.com, for blogs, videos, and more from our Manlihood team. Men, you can also join our private Facebook group, Manlihood Man Cave, where you can meet up with a band of brothers who will challenge you and help you on your journey of manhood. This episode is produced by Hatcher Media for manlihood.com. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to the show. Tune in again for more of the Manlihood Mancast.